So that was like a whole fancy ass thing.
So you had to learn German for that?
Yeah.
So you know German?
Yeah, but obviously I lost
Wow.
touch.
Of
But,
course.
I think in German when I'm stressed. I think in Hindi and German if I'm stressed.
You'd agree with me when I say that indie music has had a big boom over the past few years. So that's why I wanted to speak to someone who's a part of the scene but hasn't really hit mainstream yet, thankfully. The voice you just heard, of course, belongs to Aanchal Bordoloi, singer-songwriter and the guest for episode 43 of That's What Shree Said. In this episode, we spoke about her songwriting process, her love for Bangalore and open mics, why dating apps have become an important part of the indie music scene, and why she thinks in German when she's stressed. But before you stick around for the entire episode, check out the podcast on Instagram. It's the first link in the description where you get to know what's happening on my podcast and my newsletter called Shree Mail and my vlogs called That's What Shree Vlogs. I think you're getting the sense of how narcissistic I am. So check this out on Instagram and do give it a follow if you like what's happening there. Now that that's done, let's get you started with the show. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 43 of That's What She Said. We have a very special guest, is what they all say. But our guest is going to speak about herself. Aanchal, how about you introduce yourself and what you do?
Yes, so first of all, thank you so much for having me on this. I'm really excited about being here. So I'm Aanchal, I'm 21 years old, I'm from Assam, currently based and studying in Bangalore. I'm studying counseling psychology at the moment. And I'm also a singer-songwriter, and I'm obsessed with cats. Yeah,
Okay.
That's all about me for now.
I'm really interested, counseling, psychology, and music. Like, how does that, how do you mix the both? Like, is it like a, how's the combination? Like when you're, let's say, writing a song, and once you're having so much of pressure for your studies, how do you kind of manage that?
Yes, so I've never really faced that pressure before. My undergraduate course was relatively very chill, even though I did a triple major in
You did a triple major. Okay, I'm
Yes.
really interested to know this.
So my triple major was in psychology, journalism, and women's studies. Studying women's studies radically changed me as a person. And so when you talk about pressure, because I had subjects like journalism and women's studies, I never really took that pressure. So for me, it was more about like this passion of discovering myself and my beliefs and my political ideologies. So I am a nerd, and I literally enjoyed my UG thoroughly.
Okay.
But sadly, now I'm beginning to face the pressure because now I've had to cut down on like shows and like recording sessions just because I have assignment submissions due. So yeah, there are pros and cons to everything. But just it's very new, this pressure. I hope I can learn to sort of navigate through it well enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And music was something you also did in your undergrad, right?
Yes. So I
Alright.
began with like all the shows and stuff during my undergraduate course, and so much so that between exams I'd go to like another city, perform, and come back. So this I went to Hyderabad once for an open mic, literally just for an open mic, and I came back the next day. Was my practical exam.
Wow.
So I'm used to like a lot of shuffling and a lot of
Right.
hustling. This sort of brings me joy as well because I feel life would be very monotonous if I just had classes and no music in between. So
Absolutely. So, you've spoken about the Hyderabad incident was pretty cool.
yeah.
But you've also done a tour, right, of the
Yeah.
country. I
Yeah.
just want to know, as like somebody who's, let's say, in your 20s and you're just
Yeah,
kind of getting things around. First, it's like a two-part question. Firstly, we all know about open mics as comics. We know okay, open mics are there. Tell me, from your experience, what is the importance of doing an open mic for musicians? And then I just want to dive deeper into your stories of the tour. So those are the two questions, really. Like, how has that kind of changed you? Like, doing those open mics, do you think that kind of prepared you for your tour, or it just made you a better musician because you learn how to deal with a crowd and deal with an audience,
Yeah.
stuff like that? So just tell me about that.
So my initial aim of going to open mics was just to get discovered. So when I
Right.
first came to Bangalore, that was my only concern. Are people going to know me? And I wasn't like, oh, I have to be famous. It wasn't that at all. It was just about, am I going to find the right crowd? Am I
Right.
going to find the right support for my music? If I ever release music, will I have like a good support system that way? And I feel open mics have this whole vibe of brotherhood, if I may call it.
Right.
It becomes like family.
Like a fraternity and like a family. Yeah.
Exactly. And I made like a lot of friends through the open mic scene.
Right.
And they've always been really supportive of my music. And although sadly, I must admit that no matter where you go in this world and like whichever open mics you go to, how many ever fraternities you're a part of, there is still going to be competition. So you must be really wary of that. Because there will be people who just want to make it no matter what, and if they can't stand others making it before them. So that I will clearly mention is there everywhere, even sadly in the open mic space. So
Okay, that's
sad.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but that's competition sort of helped me grow, I would say.
Right.
So now if I face that sort of competition from somebody who's like releasing the music continuously and is like always doing festivals and stuff, I'm already used to it before, so I don't really feel that much of a competition, I would say. I don't know. I wouldn't really feel that rush. But yeah, I mean, I've met wonderful people through these open mics. I've written songs about many people that I've met through these open mics.
You've written songs about people through... Okay, that's very interesting.
I have this song called Devil Style, which I sing everywhere, but now I'm sick of it, so I've stopped singing it.
Right.
So the song is literally about this playboy who used to like come to these open mics.
Wow.
Like he'd come.
Do you think he's listening? Like, do you think there's a possibility?
No.
That okay. No. Okay.
He's not like. I don't think he really invests time in productive stuff like listening to podcasts. But if he sees this on his story, then well, cool.
Awesome.
So it's like enter this open mic and all these college girls would like. So there was this college called Jyoti Nivas, right?
Okay.
So it's like it was a girls' college.
Right.
And the moment he entered, all these girls would like go crazy, and I was really jealous of that recognition he used to get. So I wrote a song called Devil Style. So that's been my like trademark song.
Wow, which you perform it. Are you so actually going to be performing at an open mic today? Possibly, right? So are you going to be playing that?
No, I have better songs.
You have better songs.
People.
All right. Talking about better songs, tell me about your tour, man. Because like Overexpressive, that was a very cool name. And how's that like? Like, how's it like touring these places, and what's it like, just being on the road and I mean, of course, you're not technically on the road on like a fucking truck, but like, you're just going to all these places and just having different crowds who kind of know your music, some probably don't. Just tell me how that was like for you. Was it your first tour?
Yeah, it was my first tour.
Awesome. And tell me about that.
So the first thing was I was lucky enough to do the tour when my exams ended, when my UG exams ended. So relatively there was literally no stress at that time. And I was in a very bad space emotionally, I would say. So like the tour happened in November, December, around that time.
Of 2021.
2021, yeah.
Right.
The end
Recently.
of November.
Correct.
So it was a good timing before Omicron when my exams are over. But I was in a very bad space mentally, emotionally. It was one of the worst 3 months of my life. But ironically, those 3 months were the months where I did the best in the music scene as well.
Right.
So that tour was sort of like a reality check, I would say. It's like, I know you're doing badly, but then you have so much more to live for.
Right.
So that sort of came as like a surprise. So how the tour came about was this house concert organization, not house concert, now they've started with like the tours and stuff, so they're called Moto Jojo.
Okay.
So like the owner knows me really well and stuff, and he knows that I'm really enthusiastic when it comes to gigs. I'm always saying yes for anything. He calls me up and he's like, Aanchal, we want to tour with you. I'm like, wow. I didn't see that coming.
Right.
And then the first thing I said was, let me talk to my parents.
Sure.
So I had to talk to my parents, I had to figure that out, and I was the first woman Ghumakadi Kalakar. So they called it Ghumakadi Kalakar. They wanted to like imitate those old
old traditional yes.
Yeah. So I had to go by flight. They initially suggested like bus and train and all sorts.
So literally that. I was actually.
No, it's literally that.
Wow. Okay.
But my parents said no because they're paranoid.
Right.
Obviously, anybody would be. So I performed in Bombay, Pune, Delhi, Bangalore, Chandigarh. Yes,
What was your favorite?
Pune.
Pune? Oh, dude, I'm a Pune fan.
Oh.
I studied there, right?
Oh,
so
okay, no.
Yeah, I studied there for 3 years and keep visiting that place. I love it. Like where'd you perform in Pune?
Hostel 99. It's like this hostel.
Okay, I don't know about Hostel
99. Koregaon Park.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, come on. Koregaon Park that's where stuff happens, man. I really, really love it. So, So you had like Pune was great fun for you, and
yeah.
What did you feel like performing? Like, the same tracks? Like, was it like the set list? Was it like
Yeah,
like the
one
same?
or two songs here and there is
Okay,
changed. Otherwise it's the
so
same.
how does it feel like, you know, having like a pretty much similar set list and having like a different audience to it? Like, do you feel like people are reacting to different stuff all the time? Like, what's that like?
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Pune, I was really scared to sing this one song I wrote called Sit Next to Me. So, that song is like the most sad song I've written.
Okay.
And it's not even interesting guitar-wise. It's just
Right.
two basic chords. And the song is more about like me crying and like...
Right.
It's more about the vocals than it is about the guitar. And
Okay.
it's like a really slow song. And I don't think a lot of people would actually enjoy listening to this sort of stuff.
Right.
Because it's even slower than the slow songs that I write.
Okay.
But I took a risk and I thought of singing it in Pune, and before singing it I told everybody that this is a sad song. I told
So you
them,
mentioned that you prepared them ki
Yes,
this
yes.
is going to be okay.
and I told them ki, it's gonna be sad. And I told them the story behind why I wrote the song and how I wrote the song, who it's inspired by. And every time I'm singing the song, people literally had like tears in their eyes and
Wow.
like they're like oh and stuff like that. And also this is 8-minute song I wrote called Void. Yeah, it's 8 minutes long.
Okay.
It's
8 minutes. That's
it's mostly about existential crisis. That's why it's really.
and
8
I think
minutes
void goes with the theme, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's called Void, and I expected them to get bored throughout the song because I, as a songwriter, I mean, as a performer, I like to believe that they're not going to be that surprised, so I can fill that gap by actually working on my performance.
Right.
So that's how I go about through every gig. I never go saying, "Oh, the audience is going to be lit." I never say that. I always expect a bad audience, and I work my way through it just
That's very
so
interesting.
that I'm 100% sure that they like it. So
Wow.
that was the thing with Void, and it's a very, again, it's a slow song, existential crisis, a lot of crying here and there, and so the song is basically complaining about this one boy, and then after every chorus I'm like, okay, you can fill this void, you can fill this void,
Oh.
and at the end of the song I go like really snarky and I'm like, okay, maybe a song could fill this void, and then I'm like, somebody else could fill this void.
Ooh.
And everyone just like,
Damn,
whoa.
yeah. I'm sure I would be one of them, man. That's-
Everyone just lost it, and I'm like, oh my god, you actually listened to the song,
and you understood the
Yeah.
entire journey.
So
man.
that was one of my favorite moments, and somebody cried right in front of me twice, and this happened in Bangalore and Pune for the same song. There's a song I wrote called Trance. Again, it's about existential crisis. It's like, what's the point of it all? That's the entire thing of the song. What's the point of me living?
Right.
People cried.
Yeah.
And that when people cry, I always get this whole sadistic thing, sadistic joy. I love it when people
You love
cry.
it.
It means
That's going to be a clip, man. That's going to be a clip for sure. Aanchal Bordoloi, I love it when people cry. Yeah.
I love it when people cry. It means that the song reached them. So
I agree.
yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
And
So-
Bangalore obviously felt like home. Bangalore, I'm not even considering as like a part of the competition. It's home now.
It's home now.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me more about that. I want to dig deeper into you in Bangalore, because you weren't born and brought up here.
Yeah, I wasn't born and
But
brought up
how did you make this your home, and how did this thing? Why do you feel so homely here, and these streets and these audience? Like, how do you
Yeah.
feel? Yeah.
So Bangalore was never a part of the plan. I was in a boarding school in Ooty since kindergarten,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to go abroad, but I did get in abroad, but then because of a lot of reasons I couldn't go, and this
Right.
is happening twice in a row. So Bangalore was literally, okay, I have to do something in India, so Bangalore, I'll just go. It was never like, oh, Bangalore is so cool, I want to go to Bangalore. It was never about that. I came, and the first few months I just spent looking at indie artists and how they're making it. And I went to a lot of shows in Bangalore, seeing how these indie artists are actually doing really well. So that sort of became home for me. So my connection with Bangalore initially was obviously just the music scene, because that's what I'm most passionate about.
Right.
And college was interesting in the first semester, but not that much of like a passion until later on, where I discovered women's studies and like
Right.
journalism and history. It was really interesting. College, like I mentioned before, radically changed my views on
Right.
everything. And
It was a big learning experience for you.
yeah, I mean, a lot of it's reflected in my music as well. I'll have to talk about why I chose Overexpressive as the tour name as well.
Sure.
I'll
yeah.
come to that later.
Okay, sure.
Because I tend to mix up everything and like
That's
no,
very
I have no
good.
structure in the way I talk, but
I mean, your songs definitely did have a structure. Void being the prime example. So we know about a thing or two about structure. But yeah, please go on.
yeah, I mean, so open mics were a big part of how I identified Bangalore as home. So there's this open mic called Cadence. It's in
Okay.
Kodmangla.
Okay.
And they have open mics every Tuesday. So no matter how tired I was, I would every day, like every week, anybody will find me in Cadence. I'm
Okay.
just there performing every bloody Tuesday, even if I have an exam the next day. So I was that passionate about like being a part of the music scene.
Right.
However, so it started out with Cadence, then it slowly switched to other open mic venues.
That's interesting that it's called Cadence because of that your cadence of performing as a musician, like you used to be consistently used to go there, right? Like
Yeah.
so you think like consistency is very important,
Yes,
right?
yes, it is important.
Yeah.
And in like surprisingly, I got my first Rolling Stones feature because of Cadence. I didn't get it because I released a song or something. I got it because of Cadence.
Yeah.
Through Cadence.
Wow.
So I'm a part of this band called Indian Convenience,
Yes, of
and we
course.
received a song. We what's that song? What's that word? We put out a song.
Okay.
In the same time, and so Cadence was also like doing some cool stuff,
Right.
and like I got my first Rolling Stones feature because of Cadence, and I could never be more thankful to them.
Right.
And it happened after 3 years, so it's very good to like just like flashback and see how hard work really
Yeah.
paid off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that journey is kind of always fun to look at from a zoomed
Yeah.
out perspective.
I still go to open mics. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people tell me, well, you don't have to go there. You've
Yeah.
already made it, and I'm like, bro, like you don't talk like that. I don't think you can set a bar as to if you've accomplished great things. I feel that till the end of your life, there's so much you can still do.
Oh, wow.
And it's so
I love that.
stupid when people say don't go to open mics, you lower your status, and I'm like, what the hell? That's the most stupid thing I've heard. But
I really respect your
Yeah.
kind of hustle to kind of go with
yeah.
open mics all the time.
Yeah, so Bangalore, home, just open mics.
That was a good connection, like a bridge that it's
Yeah.
open mics that kind of created. But I want to speak about your song now because that's what kind of brought you. Do you agree that it brought you to the scene, or like did Whiskey Blues kind of catapult you to, let's say, people who never heard about you, but they discovered that song and they're like, oh, this is a cool song, and they probably got in touch. And also want to know what's the most interesting compliment you received for the song, and also like the previous question, but yeah, just tell me
To
about
answer your first question, sadly, no.
that. Okay.
So I have obviously been like featured in magazines. I never thought I would get featured in. I got featured in Wild City and I lost it. I'm
Right.
like, Wild City. And I got featured in Circle of Love, which I think is the coolest space in the indie music scene right now.
Right.
So these things were obviously there because when you're publishing, anyway you're going to get published, and that's
Right.
okay. I get it. But I feel that most of my journey began through these open mics, through the
Right.
tour. So I wouldn't really say Whiskey Blues played a big role in like me getting recognized. It was not that case at all.
Okay.
So in fact, I think Whiskey Blues was more as a testament saying that she's going to remain here.
Oh.
So it's not like I don't feel that I got discovered because of Whiskey
Whiskey
Blues.
Blues.
Obviously, there was like a lot of press, a lot of noise with the press part of it. And for Wild City, for example, they said Aanchal makes a debut as a folk singer-songwriter. And that comment, I'm like, bro, that made me feel very Joni Mitchell types and like Bob Dylan types.
Right, yeah, but
But,
like, but how do you actually feel about that? Like, if I were to describe you as a
Yeah.
indie folk artist, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I mean, putting labels is kind of
Yeah,
futile. But like, how do you feel about the whole folk tag, and how do you feel about the folk scene and everything?
I'm actually honored to be considered a part of the folk scene. I mean,
Yeah.
so I hate labels as well, and I'm more of a country person, to be honest.
Right.
More of a country music thing. But I feel my favorite artists have all been artists who've emerged from the whole 1960s hippie music scene.
Right.
Joan Baez and like Bob Dylan, of course, Joni Mitchell, and
of course.
a lot of singer-songwriters, especially Crosby, Stills and Nash, and all these people. And to be identified with something like folk is, I feel, beautiful. But I'm obviously going to change that narrative. But let's see how that.
Oh, you're
progresses
planning to.
further.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
be slightly touching upon that. But you spoke about being independent as an
Yeah.
artist, and you spoke about these movements. One very big movement, Aanchal, I don't know if you agree
Yeah.
with me right now, is literally going independent. Is that you go without a label, right?
Yeah.
You go without the music label because you have these streaming platforms.
Yeah.
I want to know from you. Full disclosure, I used to work at a label. I used to work at a music label in one of the countries. Like, it's picked up great
Yeah,
artists and
obviously,
EPs,
yeah.
yes. But tell me your perspective here, because essentially when you sign with the label, you give your masters in more. I mean, it depends on your contract or whatever.
Yeah.
But then, what are your thoughts on the whole label versus indie movement? Do you want to stick to, let's say, being independent, or are you but if a big label catches me, then I'd love to be with them because it has that consistency and that exposure. So what are your thoughts? Like, are you on the fence about that, or that you have a very you're set in stone in terms of what your thoughts are about the whole indie music element?
I've really thought about this. So now, at the moment, because of my master's course, it's not really possible
Right.
with all of this the whole label thing.
Right.
But one thing I must say is that I do a lot of weird gigs. For example,
Okay.
I don't know how to weird would be like maybe like a free gig at Church Street, busking.
Oh, you do busking here?
I've not busked before, but I've done something similar.
Wow.
RCB recently had this thing.
Okay.
Royal Challengers Bangalore had like this big event, and they so they were partnering with 94.3 Radio 1, and they invited like a few artists to come and perform, and there was like the big stage and there was a small stage. So my stage thankfully was super small, so there was a good audience, and it felt more like busking at the end of the day because people like randomly came and went, and
they're
obviously
taking like photos from their phone and everything.
Yeah, and people were there for RCB obviously, but like some nice people still stayed.
How sweet.
And so I did that gig for free, for example. And I'm pretty sure labels wouldn't like that. Labels wouldn't like to say, hey, like, why are you ruining your status by doing this one free show? And I don't think art really needs a price everywhere you go. And I'm not saying perform for free. I'm completely against that as well.
Yeah.
There are some cases...
That's what. Yeah.
There are, because I'm against that. But there are some cases where you could sort of make an exception. And a lot of people would disagree with me on this, and I'm fine with that. But then it's just that I think the label would sort of have this thing on me, this hold on me.
Yeah.
You don't perform there. For example, the photo shoots wouldn't be as per how I want it to be.
Yeah.
They want it from their perspective.
Their creative direction and all of that.
Yeah, and I don't think I would really be comfortable with that. So my master's is basically an experiment. So I'm gonna see how the next 2 years go, being solo, being independent, and then I'll probably think about a label. I've already thought about Indian labels, but again, for now I'm still in the exploring phase. But I admit that I think getting slots at like festivals is easier if you're signed to a label. Like NH7 Weekender, and they're just contacts, man. They're not even, I don't think it's talent after all. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just bloody contacts. That's all it is. And sometimes you have these same artists performing everywhere. Bloody year, and it's not nice.
Yeah.
It's just bloody labels and bloody contacts. That is all. It's not about the art anymore, and that's sort of sad. But yeah.
So you're gonna kind of experiment right now. You're gonna see where you're. But
it's not like I'm strongly against it. I have given it a thought, and I would feel that a lot of things would be easier if I was just a part of a label. A lot my life would be sorted. But again, I already have a problem with it being a patriarchal society, so I already have a lot of issues with control. So I feel a label controlling everything I do would sort of make me feel very uncomfortable. But let's see. For the next 2 years, it's just observation.
Awesome. Now I want to speak about something which you briefly touched upon in this answer, which is the Indian music scene, right? Like there's I think the past 5 years or even a decade, I think the indie scene is like, when we were all like, Bollywood has taken over. I feel that, and 90s, of course, indie was a very prominent thing. You had Alicia Chennai and all of that. But now, again, I would say for the past 10 years, and we've always had like indie movements, but again, we've had like where people have, of course, made the jump from indie to mainstream, and we have people who are just consuming mainstream as it is, right? Like it's become a part of their playlist because of Spotify and all of that. But somebody inside, let's say, the indie scene, what do you feel about the industry? Like, of course, the industry is very, spread across. But what are your thoughts on, like, the industry, and who are some artists that you admire, like, who you want to work with in this space?
So I'd like to start with a very irrelevant thing. I would like to talk about dating apps. So
sure, I mean, dating apps and indie music is completely connected.
Exactly. Yeah. So now I was reading this article on this very indie music page. I forgot the name of the blog itself.
Okay.
It's a very indie music thing. I'm trying to remember.
Humming Heart?
Yeah. How did you? Yes, Humming Heart. Yes. So there was this one article about how it's cool if you listen to indie music. So if on your bio you're writing, I listen to Prateek Kuhad, I listen to the F16s, you get more matches.
Right.
It's just there. And I was reading it and I'm like, wow, is this true?
Yeah.
And that really, I was like, cool, okay. And then the F16s recently came to Bangalore.
Right.
No, not recently. They keep coming to Bangalore. But Josh is the lead singer's name. So I remember he made an Instagram story, or he stated it, that apparently on Bumble, the week of their concert, a lot of people put it up on their bio saying who's coming for the F16's gig. And a lot of people came like that. And that's so bloody cool. Oh my god. Wow. So yeah, it's picking up. If it's in the dating apps, it's picking up very fast.
It's picking up
it's
very
pop
fast.
culture. It's there. Scared.
Awesome.
And like everybody's just cringing about Prateek Kuhad, man. Every second person I see, oh, you listen to Prateek Kuhad. I'm like, yeah, cool. Every second person talks about Prateek Kuhad. It's irritating now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he in fact released Cold Mess with our label, and like it kind of exploded after that. And yeah, we keep. I mean, I was working with him. He's a moody guy actually. That's what I've
heard. Yeah. I have people who know Prateek Kuhad.
Yeah. I've also kind of dealt with him, not directly, but yeah, like quite close to him. So he's he's got that sort of a reputation. But tell me about some people like F16s again. I love that stuff. It's so man, it's fresh.
I opened for them once, and they were really cool. You opened for them?
Damn. Yeah. Okay, tell me about that.
With other artists, Paula and the Associates was there. Mm-hmm. There's this guy called Alan. Subculture. Wait, I'm forgetting so much. There was this another event organizer, and they sort of invited us to come and open for them.
Junket is
Subculture, probably. I'm forgetting the name again. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was at why am I forgetting today? There's this crazy hotel nearby. Wait, in MG Road.
Like crazy as in like you mean good crazy or like?
Yeah, good crazy. I'm forgetting the name. Maybe it'll just like pop up into my head again. But yeah, they did a gig here.
And you opened with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and spoke to them also after that.
Yeah? What did they say?
I mean, they were just humble people. So before my set, I'm like, oh, hi, it's nice to meet you and stuff. I'm Aanchal and I'm glad I've listened to your music and I really like it. One of them follows me on Instagram.
Oh.
One of the guitarists, I think. There was this open mic I was doing online with Circle of Love, and he was like one of the organizers. I lost it after that. I'm like, bro, this is too cool.
Amazing.
So, yeah, just F16s obviously is like
F16s. You want to collaborate with that?
My favorite singer of all time, the whole damn world, is Ditty. She goes by the name Aditi Veena.
Yes.
I love her so much. I can't explain. In fact, when I went to Delhi, I did text her. I mean, we talk on Instagram, but she doesn't follow me. I'm not that cool yet. Okay.
No. Why not? That's going to happen after the podcast. Trust me.
We did text on Instagram.
Aditi, if you're listening, yeah.
I'm a huge fan. She knows it. The DMs are very creepy, man. They're very creepy. Yeah. I'm glad she replies. She doesn't scene zone any of my messages. She's so sweet. She likes them. She talks more. And when I got featured and like I mentioned her as one of my influencers, I sent her the picture and then I went to Delhi, so I texted her because I knew she was in Delhi at that time. And she's like, I'm sorry we can't meet because I think she's just recovering from something at that time.
Right.
But then she was nice enough to like text me back real fast.
Right.
So yeah, Ditty is I'm in love with her. Like,
awesome.
The way she dresses, the way she sings, and she doesn't do fancy stuff. That's what I love about her. I love the fact that she's a niche artist, and she talks about. There's a song of hers called "Eulogy for the Sparrow." Who writes that?
Okay.
There's this one song of hers called "Garden," and the lyrics is basically "Smoke from the cars is killing my cat, so I build her a beautiful garden."
Wow.
She's like hep.
One crazy artist. I don't know if you've heard of this artist from the freak folk scene in the US. There's this guy called Devendra Banhart. Like I don't know if you heard of them. Like him and Vashti Bunyan and all of these people. Like
I've heard of that name.
Yeah. She's
I've heard of that.
Yeah. She's done like which was that song which is very popular. It came in an ad as well. Driving on.
I keep seeing a YouTube thing like one.
Yeah. So I think that scene is kind of emerging in India. I would say that freak folk scene where you're speaking about, again, as you mentioned that Ditty song as well about the sparrow. It's the eulogy for the sparrow.
It's about sparrows getting extinct. I'm like, how beautiful can you get? She's amazing. Like love, man. She is
amazing. And that's from the Indian scene. What about internationally? Do you feel any, like, for example, if I ask you, who's your favorite artist among these two, Fiona Apple or Phoebe Bridgers, what would you say?
It's really hard for me to pick one of them because I honestly don't listen to a lot of them.
Right.
But I recently discovered Fiona Apple and I love her.
Okay.
There was this one song I was listening to, in fact, yesterday. It's called Werewolf.
Okay.
And wait, is it Werewolf? Yeah, I think it's Werewolf.
Okay.
And right now, surprisingly, I'm going through like a really weird phase in my life where I feel like I'm giving way too much to people, but I'm not getting anything in return. I'm basically unrequited love sort of scenario.
Is it with Ditty or with like, is that the only example of unrequited love, or is like?
Hey, it's not Ditty. No. So in my personal life right now.
Okay. Awesome.
It's just that I feel like I give way too much and I receive nothing in return. in
Right.
return.
Right.
So, and I could really relate to the lyrics of Werewolf. I listened to it and I'm like, bro, is she reading my mind? There's this one line which says, and I could liken you to a shark because the way you bit off my head. But then again, I was waving around a bleeding open wound or something. Those lyrics, and I'm like, bro.
So you
beautiful.
nerd out of lyrics, right? Like I do that a lot. Like
Yeah.
I really, because I mean I also like not write songs and everything, but I do write like whatever stuff like
Yeah.
stuff on the internet, and I just listen to some lyrics and it's just
Yeah,
kind of
I listen to it because of the lyrics. Like,
yeah. So
my WhatsApp status is always lyrics.
dude, same.
Right
same.
now, it's I wrote you 10 love songs. It's
Where's that from?
Laura Marling.
Okay.
There's a song called The New Romantic Age or something. Yeah, I love Laura Marling.
Okay.
She's a folk singer.
How about have you heard of Big Thief?
I've heard of them, but I don't listen to them.
Dude, check them out. Really cool stuff,
Yeah.
because there's Adriel Lenker, I think that's the artist who's behind,
Okay.
who's a singer. So she's like a solo artist,
Yeah.
and she's a part of a band as well. So I really love their tracks.
Okay.
It's like,
Hmm.
it's got this whole warm, folksy sort of
Yeah.
a vibe and everything. Okay, so now I want to ask you, Aanchal, like which places, you've done an India tour and everything, and you've spoken about Bangalore, but which places do you want to kind of go to next to perform? And like, probably you can do it you can tell me India or internationally, because you might have seen some things. Like, tell me those aspirations, and then we'll kind of talk about some of your future plans as well. But tell me about that, like about some venues that you want to, some venues or some festivals. There's like, of course, Lollapalooza. I mean, that's like quite crazy. But yeah, tell me about some of that stuff in the country or internationally.
Yeah, so I'm still looking at venues in India. For example, I've done the cities. I want to do like so I'm obsessed with house concerts. Commercial gigs are not really my scene, and I've just released one single till now.
Right.
So people don't really know Aanchal. It's just like one folk song, and everyone's like.
Right.
So I still feel that I have a lot more to do before I can reach that stage. But for now, I want to explore house concerts in places like Goa and Himachal Pradesh and these northeastern regions.
Right.
I really want to go to places like, I've performed in Shillong though, but I really want to go to Shillong again. I want to go to Imphal. I made contacts in Imphal very recently, and they said that we will sort out gigs, but college makes it very hard.
Right.
But the northeast is where I want to perform, not in Assam, because I'm from Assam, and like, no, I want to explore the other places like Arunachal Pradesh and all these cooler places, and Himachal Pradesh definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this very cool festival that happens called Musicathon in Bir, and it's like a very like paragliding wala jagah mein. It's like near a landing base, and they have this every year, and it's like very cool because they have a very the crowd isn't very big, and they bring in folk again, interestingly enough, folk singers from Rajasthan and from Himachal.
Okay.
And it's like a really cool it's like a 2-3 day thing, and people stay in their tents, and they're it's like a whole
Cool.
it's a very interesting experience that I want to go for actually, but I haven't really come around to that.
Zero Festival in Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay,
Seems
Zero
like something
Festival.
I want to do. I saw like a snippet of Diddy performing there, and there weren't many people. That's what I loved about it.
Right.
I mean, obviously it's a crowded place, but then they have these smaller stages and stuff.
Right.
That's something I really want to do in the Northeast.
So you like these smaller scenes. So how was it like performing online? Did it like suck? Like did you not enjoy it at all?
Online was fine. So I did a few open mics with Moto Jojo again online.
Right.
And I found really good people through, like in the music scene. It was so weird.
And of course you wrote songs about them.
No, not
online, but yeah. I mean.
Oh, I did write a song about some dude's Insta profile. I haven't even met him. I wrote an entire song about his Insta profile.
About his Insta profile?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I was basically working with this Hyderabadi producer, and he's like, come up with a song. I didn't have anybody to write about, so I go on Instagram and I write about some random fellow. I don't even know him.
Okay.
I'm a very, that comes off as very crazy, but I'm an extremely sensitive person. That still doesn't make sense, does it?
How do you, now I'm interested, how do you like describe your songwriting process then, like in like a word or a sentence? Because I'm really seeing loads of tangents here as to how you can approach it. If you can write songs from an Instagram profile, then man, I mean,
I'm not even joking.
We're in for a treat then, like, because then I'm just waiting for the other singles and like a EP.
I have more than 8 songs already ready and composed.
Yeah?
And this just in the production phase. They still have to go for production. But again, I was able to do the tour because I had that many songs.
Got it, because you were performing them live.
I've written more than 8 songs, and in fact, totally I have like 20-30. But I stopped singing them after they get lame. Yeah.
Do you think that happens? Do you think every song has like a life cycle live?
Yeah. Some have more.
Some
because
have
they
more,
have
yeah.
more of a meaning to it.
Ah.
Yeah, I write songs about the weirdest things.
Awesome.
And tell me about that. Like what's your what are your plans for the future? Of course, I know you can't delve too much into it because I wouldn't want you to delve too much because I want that intrigue to be maintained. But yeah, what are how are you kind of approaching it? Because there are many people from the music industry, let's say, who listen to the podcast. They love to know some strategies that you're taking, like which route are you taking, or do you want to do like a more live first approach? People will get my name on the live.
That's
front.
what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing. And like, how do you want to probably accentuate that, or have some other angle to it, or probably do more press? Like what's your scene on like the entire
So
stuff?
I haven't mentioned that I was a part of the Vienna Songwriter Circle in Vienna.
How was that? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was cool. So my 11th grade was there. I was a part of a student exchange program where I had to stay in a different country with different host parents, Austrian parents.
Right.
So it was like a whole new change. My education was in German. So that was like a whole fancy ass thing.
So you had to learn German for that?
Yeah.
So you know German?
Yeah, but obviously I lost touch.
Of course.
I think in German when I'm stressed. It's a very nice language to think in. I think in Hindi and German if I'm stressed.
That is quite incredible, man. That's interesting to hear. Wow. Okay, I think we found another Instagram clip for that. I think in German when I'm stressed. Okay. Yeah, tell me more about Austria.
Yeah, so the best part was the fact that I was a part of the songwriter circle there. So I performed in an open mic and I met this lady and then I texted her saying, hey, like, I'm here only for a limited period of time. I see that you're already a part of the music scene. Can you please guide me as to how I can like go about the music scene? But she sings in English.
Oh, wow.
So then she introduced me to the Songwriter Circle, which is a collective of like a lot of artists who've come from like London and like mainly from Scotland and Ireland basically.
Right.
They've settled in Vienna and they're all touring musicians and stuff. So they started this collective so that people could come together, talk about songwriting and perform. So I attended like 3 or 2 of the sessions. So the sessions are basically, they start with talking about something as basic as how to market your music and like gigs.
Right.
And then at the end of the session, what they do is they divide us into groups and they ask us to come up with a song within 30 minutes, not more.
30 minutes?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
And that's how I learned brainstorming. And I hate the technique of brainstorming. I don't like brainstorming at all. But in fact, because of that habit, it's what I do now. So I feel that's something that I picked up because of the Songwriter Circle. And Vienna was really cool. So I was a part of 2 bands there. And the school band and the music school band. And we performed at a few venues. That was really cool. So I'm in touch with one of my classmates who is a producer now. So we spoke to each other saying that, okay, there is a small possibility of us collaborating online. So I'm still looking forward to that. His name is Wieland. He goes by the artist name Willow. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's like Wilou. So I'm really looking forward to that collaboration. I think that'll happen after I release more singles. I want to be like confident with what I want to do and then like approach him. And I think that'll be really cool if I could sort of collaborate with a Viennese producer.
I mean, that'll be some interesting songs for sure, man.
Yeah. Just one song is like fine.
I mean, even one does the trick.
Yeah.
Tell me about like, you've, let's say, because you've started out like quite recently, do you have others in the scene as well, like you want to shout out to them, like they're also doing some crazy stuff? Because oftentimes I think giving them a shout out or something is pretty cool because we just get to know more artists, and it's probably sometimes the stuff is very niche and that's why people haven't heard of it. But like, what are some of your kind of artists that you've been listening to that are kind of like not very well known in the indie scene? Be it, I mean, it can be from abroad as well or from India. Like,
there are so many. I can't name just a few, but I will name.
Sure.
For now, it's Rohan Chaudhary. He has music online. He's really cool. How did I meet him? Clubhouse.
Oh, you were a Clubhouse kid, dude. Have you performed on Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
In fact, I asked him to open for one of my gigs when he was in Gurgaon. Yeah, but he didn't come because Gurgaon got cancelled. But anyway, I met this. Oh my god, I can't even begin to tell you. So from Clubhouse, I met an event organizer.
Wow.
And I hit her up and then she's like, yeah, let's plan a gig in Mumbai sometime. And she actually came to Church Street and we met and we spoke in Mateo Coffee, like right there.
Yeah,
that cafe. Yeah. We had conversations on how to go about performing at more gigs. It happened through Clubhouse.
Man, I was
like on Clubhouse all the time.
I was addicted to the app back in its heyday, which was literally a month, I think July.
Yeah.
I used to host these rooms, okay? Like
okay, cool.
Yeah, I used to host these rooms and we used to speak about like music and movies and everything. And I'm a voiceover artist as well. So
okay.
the number of people that I spoke to.
Your followers also increase, man.
Yeah, man, they do. Instantly. Instantly, they just like, and once you get the mic, once you get the stage, and then you just open up your Instagram, like, whoop, like you suddenly have like a big rise.
Raghu Dixit follows me on Clubhouse.
Wow.
I was in some random room, and even he was there with another singer, but I'm not talking to him, I'm talking to the other singer. Because he sings in English. His name was Bruce Lee Money.
Okay.
And I don't know why the next notification I see Raghu Dixit is following you. I'm like, bro, what is this? He got to know I'm a singer-songwriter then. Right. So that's why he must have followed. But
right. And like, you know, once all these things happen to you, and then you can continue with the other names. But like, how do you kind of deal with this? I wouldn't say stress, but like it's so exciting. Like this kind of mixture of excitement.
I get that. Yeah.
Like how do you kind of deal with it? Because does it get like shit? You know, now I have this pressure, or do you like nahi, this ye to hona hi tha? Like, you know, of course I'm doing. So I've worked hard for this moment. So what's that like?
Could you elaborate more? A little
as in like how do you kind of this pressure that's there? Is it like a good thing that okay, like now these people are following you, or do you see it like okay, it's kind of, you know, weighing down on you, and okay, now I have to kind of perform for these people, not these people in particular, but like now there's just like a lot of added pressure now that you've gotten your word across. Do you feel that? How do you?
Yeah, obviously. I think everything will have its pros and cons.
Yeah.
The moment I start putting feminism quotes on my Instagram story, I know 10 people will follow me directly.
Right.
And even if I put up like a lot of spirituality stuff on my Instagram, I know people are going to unfollow me like this. But again, that's the thing, right? There is pressure, obviously, but that's where I think it goes wrong a little, because I feel that your art at the end of the day has to be for them,
right.
not for you anyway. So I'm still trying to like navigate through that at the moment. So how do I say this? So I was not really active on Instagram before this. I used to post like once in 3 months when I had a gig or something and I'd go off. But then later I started becoming mad. I started like posting every single day.
Right.
That was because I really liked somebody on Instagram. Was the only way to connect with them.
Sure.
So it was the weirdest way. And even now it's that case. So that again has its pros and cons, right? So now I have more people interacting with me because of my music. And then I have a lot of people thinking I'm way too much. So I think it's a very mixed sort of thing. You can't like really put a tag on it. But the pressure is there, that I would agree. You're always wondering, is my crowd going to like this?
Yeah.
Am I not regular?
Yes.
Am I not posting regular?
Yeah.
That's going to be, I try not to think about it, because then I'm just doing my work for them. It's not about me and my personality anyway.
Right.
I think that's really messed up.
Right.
But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Now just tell me about like the artist you want to kind of.
Yeah. So Rohan Chaudhary. And let me think. Frizzle D'Souza was obviously big. Frizzle D'Souza, I met her in person as well. She's really sweet.
Right.
Big shout out to her. There's this another artist called Vandita Narayan. She's really nice, really cool voice. Ronak Mighty. I don't know if you heard of Ronak
I've
Mighty.
heard of him.
Pagal Hai Na. He signed to Pagal Hai Na.
Correct. Yes. Pagal Hai Na. Yes.
Mahesh Raghunandan. He was my vocal teacher. So the minute I've never done vocal training before in my life. The only vocal training I've done is after I came to Bangalore and I did like a 6-month course with him. The minute after like I stepped out, everyone noticed a big change in my vocals. So like all of that goes to him. A lot of that goes to him. He has a very unconventional way of teaching, and he includes a lot of mindfulness practices.
Nice.
Very unconventional. So Mahesh Raghunandan is a big, like, I love him for what he's done to like my music. It's crazy. Cinema Excess is a very good band. Bharat Kashyap is a very good guitarist. And one of the most humble people I've met in the entire goddamn world. There's this band called Thermal and a Quarter. Tony Das, Bruce Lee Money are some of the bandmates. Ranjini Ramados is quite big in the music scene. She's doing Weekender. And recently we followed each other on Instagram, and then she's very sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like the way she texts us. She'll text you like she knows you for like a really long time. She's super approachable. Jitesh Jadwani, he's actually my producer as well.
Oh wow.
My next song, Void, he's going to be producing that. Not producing, we're doing more of a live version, but he's going to be helping out with Void.
Awesome.
There's this band called Rule Fox. A small shout out to them. They're going to perform at Fandom on 7th April.
Okay.
But yeah, these are some of the artists at the top of my head.
Awesome. That's great. We're at our last question now, Aanchal. And it's a very regular one, but I think it's also important because people kind of keep asking about this. Let's say there's an artist who's barely put out any stuff on Spotify or anything. What would you say to them? Because of course the whole thing is that okay, publish your songs and everything, but what would you say, like, you know, from a person who's also kind of, recently started out and, you've seen this journey quite fresh. You've been to your first tour a few months back.
Yeah.
What would be some words for them?
I would say just don't think twice, go ahead and do it. That's all, man. Because I think self-doubt is a big problem at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should really do that to yourself. If you feel that your music is good, just go ahead and do it. Because I feel that I lost out a lot by putting Whiskey Blues out only now. I feel that I lost out on a lot. I feel that I would have gotten more gigs, more recognition if I would have done this earlier. And there's a lot of reasons why I didn't do it, because obviously it was not feasible, the pandemic happened and a lot of that. But I just want to say that it's a real game changer if you put out your music. Somebody somewhere will be crying to your song, will be crying to sleep because they relate to your song. And I feel that you should really go ahead and do it anyway. There's also one small thing I'd like to say.
Sure.
I was having this conversation recently with somebody and I was telling him that I hate the fact that I feel way too much. I hate myself for being this very sensitive person. I cry like if I get a late text back from somebody I really like. So I'm really messed up in that way. And then he's like, but you never really know. He's like, because of that sensitivity, you can write songs on Unrequited Love. You can write songs like Whiskey Blues, and maybe somebody somewhere is crying themselves to sleep because they could relate to it and they went through like the exact same situation as you did. So it's not wrong to feel so much for something that's really small. So I feel that everybody has a different story to tell, and like I'm pretty sure people could resonate with their story too.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Aanchal. I hope you had a
yes.
good time for this recording, because I have learned so much about the industry, and I think you as a person as well after this recording. Anything you'd like to ask me, then we can wrap up, or anything you'd like to say as your final thoughts.
I'm really glad I was a part of this conversation. So usually when I do like interviews and podcasts and stuff, I'm always overthinking. I'm like, what do I say? And I'm always scared. I'm always nervous. But this one was like super chill.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I think you carry that off really, really well. So
That's great.
Thank you so much for having me on
Thank you
this
so much, Aanchal.
podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of That's What Shree Said. I hope you do consider subscribing to the newsletter and following me on Instagram. Till then, I hope you have a great time, and I'll see you for episode 44. Bye-bye.